You know what's so funny? I was just thinking about the fact that one of the people that I was talking about cutting out last month when I had first started my podcast made a comment to me about how she wanted to come on the podcast, but she said, I'll do you the favor of coming on your podcast, and then like I would owe her something, like almost like insinuating that her presence on my podcast would make some type of fucking difference, like as if she was fucking Oprah Winfrey. And it just actually kills me how some people want to offer you crumbs in exchange for a 5-course meal, and respectfully, what the fuck?
Here I am, just trying to be myself. It's a crazy world, looking to find my place, and all they do is la 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 la.
It is the 2nd of May. I can't believe it's already May. I feel like time is fucking flying. So we just got back from Toronto last night. We were at an event called Cial. It's an event that we've done multiple times. It's basically like a food, well, not basically, it's a food trade show. So you're literally just like eating for 3 days. We got to work on the first day that they did the event. And then the other 2 days we kind of just popped in. I mentioned, that we're starting a new company, that we started a new company, Truffle Traffic, and we wanted to see if we could, make some good contacts, and we met some awesome people. We also wanted to see if maybe we wanted to add some new products to our line, like eventually down the line, because we are going to just be focusing on truffle for now. We met so many cool people and we got so many samples. When I tell you, I literally came home with like 5 full fucking bags of samples, and this was one of the samples that we got. It's a sparkling juice. The brand is called Nourrir. I'm pretty sure she said she's from the Bronx. And honestly, I've never tasted anything like this. It's 90 calories. It's super good. Pineapple and ginger. It's really tasty. I wanted to make some chamomile tea. Oh, and it's caffeine free. I wanted to make some chamomile tea, but all my dishes and shit are in the dishwasher. So I said, you know what? We're going to have some sparkling juice. I don't think they sell them here in Canada yet. They're trying to get to Canada. That's basically the whole point of the trade show. But I really hope they do make it to Canada because it's super good. Another quick little thing that I don't want to linger on too much, because God forbid somebody misinterprets something that I'm saying, because I feel like what I talked about in the last episode, I was kind of like influenced by this whole trend that's going on TikTok, the butterfly effect. I'm sure you've seen it, where people are saying, oh, the butterfly effect is crazy because what if blah, blah, blah didn't happen? I would have never blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding what the butterfly effect is. Like a lot of people are writing like, the butterfly effect is crazy because if I didn't go to this school, I would have never met my best friend. But like, that's not really the butterfly effect. That's just like life. That's just life. You're just you met someone because you went to that school. Butterfly effect is more like, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's more like a little thing that set off a motion of a bunch of other little things. So like, for example, I was telling Steph, the fact that we've been doing Cial for so many years, and now we are starting a importation company for food into Canada, ties in really, really well together. The fact that we got to work at this event with Lonely Girl, and then day 2 kind of went in as not working for Lonely Girl, but with the mentality of 2 people who are now importing truffles into Canada, wanting to meet, potential distributors and so on and so forth. If we would end up meeting, let's say, a crazy distributor that would be the person that we would end up getting into business with, for me, that's the butterfly effect. Because had I never dated the guy that I dated in high school, met his sister who was on MasterChef, got asked to go to this event, who then recommended me to get hired for this event, started working at this event years ago, and then 3-4 years down the line, I end up meeting the distributor who essentially, makes my company become huge and sell millions. That's more what the butterfly effect is. It's just like this like chain of reaction events that happen, and so I feel like not everybody's getting that. But the story that I told last week, although at the time I definitely believed that a higher power was trying to stop me from fucking up my life, which now years later, when I think about it, I'm like, thank God that I didn't make a huge mistake and put myself back into a position that I like tried so fucking hard to get out of. In that moment, at that time, I definitely believe that's what it was. But it wasn't. It wasn't. I think it was just a bunch of different coincidences that kind of all found themselves together that made me believe that it was some type of higher power. But months down the line, when I started to realize that my car just had some fucking problem, that it would just randomly lock itself at any random time, and that I had to stop leaving my fucking keys in the car when I would get out of the car, and that I should probably roll a damn window down when I was stepping out of the car if I didn't plan on bringing my keys with me, I started to understand that it had nothing to do with anything. Okay. And anyways, I'm rambling, but all of this to say that yesterday I got a message on my phone. The number was a number from Toronto. So naturally, I'm thinking it's somebody that I probably met at the event, because I've been at this trade show for 3 days and I've been speaking to a ton of people. I've made a bunch of connection. I've given my phone number out to so many damn people, right? So this person writes me, Bianca. I'm going to put the messages here so that you can see them for yourself. At first I didn't answer because I'll be honest, I get so many fucking spam phone calls, and I feel like these people get more and more creative every single time that they reach out, and as time progresses, so that when someone just wrote me Bianca, I didn't even bother answering, even though I saw it was a number from Toronto. I'm like, if it's really somebody who wants to get into contact with me, they're going to message me again. And they did. They messaged me again and they said Bianca Venna, Lonely Girl Productions, as you could see. And obviously in that moment, I was 100% sure that it was a client, because I'm like, okay, Lonely Girl Productions, that's literally what my name tag said when I was at the event. So I answered, and then you could see the messages for yourself. When I realized that it was my ex messaging me, the first thing I thought was, what a fucking idiot, because the delusion is just crazy to me, because to have listened to last week's episode and have somehow romanticized that episode, because based off the messages that you're sending me, you fucking romanticized it. Out of everything that I talked about, especially in the other episode where I talked in great detail about the relationship that we had, out of everything that you gathered, you missed out on the important pieces, like the part where I quite literally talked about fantasizing all the ways that I thought I could kill you. Somehow, some way, decided to grab last week's episode and somehow thought it was a positive one. Which, like, the point of last week's episode was not to necessarily talk about my relationship with him. It was more, I kind of wanted to set you into a situation where clearly I was out of my mind at that point, you know? And so it's like, it's crazy that somebody would try and romanticize a point in my life where I was quite literally disassociating with reality, and still somehow managed to think that the things that I was saying was maybe because I was in love, when really it was just, I was in survival mode. I had been with this person for so long that I quite literally just was having so much difficulty trying to integrate myself back into the regular world. And I was having so much trouble doing so that for a split fucking second, I genuinely considered going back into that awful relationship. Not because I was in love, because truly now as an adult, when I think back, I don't think I was ever in love. I just didn't want to go home to my parents. That's really what it was. I was a fucking brat. I was a little brat who was unhappy living with her parents and who wanted to teach her parents a lesson. Like, how do you miss out on that, on the biggest part of the entire conversation, on the biggest part of everything, especially the episode where I talked about the abuse? If you listen really fucking clearly, okay? And if you didn't, I want you to listen to this even slower, maybe even play it back a couple times. Everything that I did in that relationship, all of the time that I spent in that relationship, all of the time that I did not leave that relationship, at no point was it because I was in love or because I was happy or because I wanted to stay. It's because I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to go home so badly that I chose to live in absolute shit. I didn't want to go home so badly that I chose to stay with somebody that I knew was a piece of shit. I chose to stay with somebody who cheated on me, abused me, sexually assaulted me, raped me, because that is what it is, right? I think a lot of people don't realize that just because somebody is your boyfriend, they can still rape you. I don't know if that's like a concept that's made super clear to a lot of people. I feel like people think that it only happens with people that you don't know, or with strangers, or I don't know, at a party or something. But the bottom line is I was just so upset with my parents. I was just such a fucking little brat that was upset with her family and who really wanted to prove a point that I stayed into that situation. So it's fucking wild to me that somebody could look at that episode and then look at the last episode and somehow think that that was a positive episode. And the only reason I considered going back is because I just felt like I didn't belong at my house. My mom had gotten married. She had had another baby. And it's not to say that I didn't want to stay with my mom or that I didn't want to stay with my dad. I think I had just been gone for so long, and I had really given my parents so much time to learn how to live without me, and then they did, that when I got back home, it was very clear to me that although they still loved me, and although it's not like they were, hurrying to kick me out of the house at that time, I just didn't feel like I belonged anymore. And that was my own fault. That's because I had spent so much time away from them that I forgot what it was like to live with them. When you leave your house at 16, 17 years old, it's a very different experience when you go back almost at 20 years old, having, lived on your own for 3 years. I think I just enjoyed living by myself, and being in a relationship made that possible. But hell, I could have just found a roommate at that point, and it would have been the same thing. At that point, it would have been better for me, no? I mean, at least my roommate probably would not have been beating the living shit out of me. For anybody who's listening to this and may misinterpret my words for something else, I want it to be very, very clear that in no way, shape, or form did I ever stay in that relationship because I was in love. And the part where he mentioned that I didn't mention the proposal, I think the only thing that I regret about that proposal is not taking that ring and selling it. I should have done that. I think I was too proud at that point. I never wanted to take any of his money. I never wanted it to come back and kick me in the ass. I never wanted anybody to turn around and say, I made you, or I gave you this, or I gave you that. I left that relationship with nothing. I left that relationship with minus what I came into it. And it took me years of trying to rebuild myself. And so I would be lying if I said that him reaching out to me yesterday didn't bother me. I feel like I wouldn't be being my true honest self if I came on here right now and acted really hard and said that it had no effect on me, or that it didn't ruin my night yesterday, or that it didn't ruin my morning this morning, because the truth is that it did. And when I talked about it on socials and someone messaged me and said, how could you still let him have contact to you? How dare you still answer? That pissed me the fuck off in a way that I realized I really need to get back on my fucking magnesium, because it's 7 days of no magnesium and I'm ready to fucking punch someone in the dick. I think what pissed me off the most about it is the fact that I feel like this podcast is this community and this like safe space that I'm building, and the fact that he listens to this just grosses me the fuck out. But also, like, grow the fuck up. It's been over 10 years. It's been like 13 years. Don't you have anything better to do with your life than listen to me? Anyways, for anybody who ever misinterprets my storytelling, don't. La, 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 la. Okay, on to bigger, better things. I have finally, after how many months is it now? When did I start this podcast? End of December. So January, February, March, April, May. Fuck, I can't believe it's May. So it's almost been 5 months of Barely Edited. I have been trying to figure out a name, okay? ChatGPT and I, my ChatGPT Plus, we've kind of been going back and forth. And I was like, what the fuck can I call the listeners? Because I feel like every single good podcast has like a name for the listeners. And I was like, damn, I really fucked myself with Barely Edited, because like, what are you really going to call them? You know, my sister was like, you should call them Bareleys. And I was like, what does that even mean? And I refuse to call you the Bareleys, but I also just could not figure out any other name that would make sense until we started talking about making merch, okay? And I know it's early and it's not like there's thousands of people who listen to this podcast. Actually, that's a lie. When was it? I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I hit over 1,000 people listening. So that was actually pretty cool. You know, small little steps. You always have to start somewhere. And so I was like, oh my God, I should really do merch. Like, I don't even care if I sell like 2 things. That I will be so happy. And I want to make merch for myself too. So that's really what it is also. And if anybody else wants to buy merch, like, hell, that's fucking awesome. And so I was thinking about the type of merch that we can have. And I love the idea of doing a shirt that says rough draft. Because let's be fucking for real, I am a rough draft. I feel like so many of us are rough drafts all the time. Like, are we ever our final draft? Like, not until a fucking long time, I would imagine. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to call my listeners my little rough drafts, because fuck, isn't that what we all are? We're all just trying to figure it out. That's literally what life is. We're all just trying to figure it out. And we don't have to be perfect. Everything doesn't have to be perfectly polished. I feel like when I finally started to let go of the idea of always being perfect with things, even this podcast, I've been talking about this podcast since fucking 2018, if not even before. And 2020, I was like, yes, with the pandemic, perfect. I'm going to start my podcast. I literally had to wait 5 years until I actually found the ovaries to do this. And so the reason why was I didn't like how I looked. I was so insecure with how I looked. I felt like I didn't have the good camera. I felt like I didn't have the perfect house. I felt like there was just so many different things. Is my living situation perfect? Not really. But when I went to Toronto, I was so excited to leave for a couple days because I was like, oh, it's going to be so nice to get out of the basement. Like, I think the worst thing about living here is the fact that it's a basement, is that my windows are not huge and there's not a huge amount of light, and it makes me very depresso being in a place that's like dark. But when I got to Toronto, the apartment was beautiful. We were in this like really high-rise building. You could see all the city. I literally found myself sitting in that apartment going, I just want to go back to my dungeon. And fuck, when I got home, I had never been so excited to come home. Like, as much as I talk shit about this place, I do love this place. And when I do move out, it's going to make me really sad. But anyways, God, I always get fucking sidetracked. What I wanted to say is my little rough drafts. I'm a rough draft. You're a rough draft. So many people are rough drafts. I feel like it's perfect. And when it came to my mind, I was like, that's it. That is it. It took me 5 months to get here, but that is fucking it. And I love the idea of doing that for merch. I have so many other cool slogans that I want to do for the merch. I'm going to run them by you. I'm going to put them on Instagram. I'm going to put different ideas on Instagram. And I would love if you could go on Instagram and vote for the stuff that you love the most, because I reached out to a friend of mine. Her name is Jamie. Maybe you know them, Jamie and Brittany. They are from Royal Blush Apparel. They make the cutest fucking things. And so I've reached out to Jamie and I said, listen, I'm fucking ready to do some merch and I want you guys to make it for me. So I need to get back to her with all the different slogans that I want. I want to make hats, I want to make t-shirts, and I want to make sweatshirts, and I want it to be good quality shit. So I'm not going to say that it's going to be super cheap, because it probably won't. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that expensive. I don't know what the pricing is yet, but I am a huge fan of merch, but I am not a fucking huge fan of shitty merch. I don't want stuff that's like staticky or just like bad quality stuff that you wash once and it's like you can throw it out. I have some things that I've made for Lonely Girl that have lasted me years. Like, I'm talking literally now, this year is our 10-year anniversary for Lonely Girl. There's stuff that I've made in year one that I still have now. So that's ideally what I want. Great quality stuff. I really hope that you guys like it. I hope that you will buy it and support. I think it would be awesome to see somebody wearing like one of our, I don't know, hats or shirts or sweaters, or I don't know. I think it'll be fun. And I was thinking about doing like limited edition merch for like, I don't know, different seasons, or I don't know how it's going to work, but it would be cool because what if this podcast blows up? I don't know. What if in like a couple years we look back and there's people who got like the first launch of merch that we did? Like, I don't know. I feel like that would be really cool. The idea of, you know, a rough draft is like super important, especially for me now at this point in my life, because I'm in a point in my life right now where I have changed so much about myself. I feel like I like draw up a new rough draft every fucking half an hour. And I can't imagine that it's not like that for you also. I can't imagine people who are the exact same for like several, like forget about years, but like I'm like even months. Like I'm literally not the same fucking person I was this morning. Okay. That's how crazy it is. And so I feel like it's crazy to think that there are some people who are in the same place that they were even a couple months ago or last year or 5 years. Well, life is so short. Life is so short. There are so many things that you can do. There's just so much that you could do if you know, every single day work at getting to a better potential, a higher potential. That's why when people are like jealous of other people, I'm always like, where do you even fucking have time to be jealous of other people when you should solely be focusing on being better than yourself than you were half an hour ago? Okay. That's what I truly, truly believe. For me, the way that I look at things is I feel like the horses that have like the like things that cover their eyes on the side, and I'm just going straight. I'm just trying to focus straight. I'm not trying to look around, because for sure, if you start looking around, you're going to feel bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I have fucking days where I wake up and I go on TikTok, I go on Instagram, and I'm just like so fucking happy. And I look at things and I'm like happy for everybody. And I have to say that that's probably like 78% of my actual character and true vibe and how I am. And I love looking at things. And I'm that person who, like, even if I don't fucking know you, I will write on strangers things like, congratulations, like, happy birthday, like, congrats on, you know, getting married, engaged, opening a business, blah, blah, whatever the fuck it is. Even if I don't know you, I will always be that person to just like be cheering for you, because I remember when nobody was cheering for me. I am that person a lot of the time. But there are also days where I wake up, I see one fucking video on TikTok or Instagram, and I will unfollow like 6 fucking people, because if not, I will teeter-totter off of that edge. And so I'm learning more and more every single day the things that I can handle and the things that I cannot handle. I'm trying to be nice to myself and understand that, again, I am a rough draft, and I will, you know, I get better at things. Sometimes I fall a bit back into things, but I think it's really important how you deal with those situations when they come up. Because think about it this way, okay? If I was an alcoholic, if I'm never, ever, ever around alcohol, I will never be able to know if I'm actually healing or like curing myself in the proper way, because I could not be around alcohol for 5 years, like never be exposed to it, and then go to a party for the first time after 5 years of never seeing alcohol and just get myself fucking shit-faced wasted because alcohol is in front of me. So I'm a very big believer that if you have to heal from something, you need to constantly put yourself in front of that thing. You need to face the obstacles. You can't be an avoidant, and you can't avoid things, because you don't actually know if you're healing from something if you're just fucking avoiding it all the time. And so although that's probably not the easiest route, and I know that some people maybe in the beginning need to have less exposure to a specific thing before they feel like they can, you know, maybe tackle it or accept the challenge to be confronted with it. My entire life have always taken the difficult road, and I can't say that I'm mad about that, because I feel like now as an adult, it has fucking made me solid, and there's few things that can really derail me. And even when I do feel like for a second I could be derailed, I've really worked on a good kind of like step plan to get myself back together. Like I've started to become very conscious of myself, my feelings, my like inner monologue. I think that's really important. But I think what is most important that people need to hear is healing is not pretty. You go online and you see all of these influencers with their fucking matcha and their journal and their journaling, and they're like telling you about, I don't know, like learning about themselves and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Like that's fucking bullshit, because actually healing yourself and the healing journey is so fucking ugly, and it's so difficult, and it's so much crying, and it's so much back and forth, and it's so much drawing up new rough drafts of yourself and letting go of things that you thought you knew about yourself and fucking accepting things that you never wanted to accept about yourself. Like, I think it's really starts with that, because you can lie to yourself and pretend that you think you're a certain person, but like maybe you're not. And the faster you fucking accept that, the faster you will be able to change as a person. Like if you have shitty fucking habits, just acknowledge that you have shitty fucking habits. If you, I don't know, if you're a liar, acknowledge the fact that you're a liar. There's no point in lying to yourself and saying that you're not. Okay? Because then every single situation that happens in your life where, let's say you find yourself into problems with people because they think that you're a liar and you lie to yourself and say that you're not, you're literally just fucking delusional. Okay? So Delulu is not always the Salulu. Like, just put that in your mind. But we see that shit so much online that we genuinely think that it's okay. And we think that it's okay to be pieces of shit, but it's not. Sometimes you are the problem, and that's it. And it actually starts with you. Fix yourself. Fix yourself. And then don't be afraid to admit that you have a fucking problem, and I don't know, make amends if you need to, apologize if you need to, leave people the fuck alone if you need to, or if you know that it's better for them. Like, stop only doing things for yourself. I feel like sometimes people on like a healing journey, sometimes you need to just fucking let it go and realize that maybe you've dragged people into a very toxic life of your own. And just because now you decided to fucking become a matcha healing bitch, you don't have to come back and find me and let me know that. It's fine. You can just heal on your own, and I can just go on with my life. We don't ever have to come back together. I'll eventually see you somewhere. You'll eventually see me somewhere, and we will just know. There doesn't need to be a conversation about it, you know? And so this idea that like healing has to be pretty, and it's like, I feel like focusing on my self-care has helped me so much. And I do put it out there on my socials, but I also do want to be very honest about when I'm not feeling good. Like, I really try not to only post when I'm feeling happy and everything is wonderful. Yes, well, sometimes I go dead radio silent. It's probably because I'm fucking fighting for my life in bed. But just know that when I'm back, I'll let you know that I was gone because I was fighting for my life in bed. I just don't think that it's good for anybody, and it doesn't bring anything positive to lie about what you're going through or not going through to make other people feel bad. Because the bottom line is a lot of us feel these things, and the reason why we don't see it so often online broadcasted the same way that we do, or the same way that we see happiness and positivity constantly broadcasted, is because we feel like there's no place for it online, and that's not true. There should be more place for it online. When I see people crying online, I mean, listen, within limits, okay? I don't know what it is. There's this like whole thing of sometimes when you're crying, you just want to film yourself. I can tell you that the way that I started doing this is because I used to put myself in these stupid fucking positions, okay? I used to put myself in these relationships, these toxic relationships with friendships, you know, relationships, family members. And I used to continuously put myself through fucking hell till eventually there would reach a day where I was just like, this is really the most that I can handle. And to not make myself fall back into these things, I used to record videos. So like one example that I could use is before I went to Italy and I met Stefano, the night that I left, the night that I found out that my ex that I don't know if I ever talked about this. I don't know if I ever talked about this just because my ex passed away, and I feel like it's not nice to talk about him because I feel like he can't give you his side of the story or like defend himself. If I don't know. I just feel like it's not nice of me to speak on him, but This is a factual thing that happened that, I mean, even if he was here, you can't really look at it any other way. The night that I left, I had gotten a message from a girl basically saying that she was talking to my boyfriend on Tinder. And I remember when I got that message, the first thing that I did was I didn't cry, okay? Oddly enough, I set up my camera and I sat in front of the camera and I basically just said all of the ways that I was feeling inside, which I'm sure you can imagine was like a ton of not good things. And then I eventually started crying hysterically. I'm sure I still have this video if I look for it somewhere. And I cried so fucking hard in that video. And I just basically, it was like a video to myself, basically saying like, bitch, stop this. Stop hurting yourself. Stop putting yourself in these situations where you know that it's a toxic situation, but then a couple hours passes by or a couple days or a couple weeks, months, whatever, you forget about it. I have a shit memory. So that usually works really well in favor of other people, because sometimes people will hurt me and then it wasn't that important to me in my life and I'll forget about it and I'll see them down the line and I'll be like, hey, and I'll completely forget what happened because I don't actually care that much. But I still should not allow people back into my life when those situations happen, right? And so that's how I started filming myself crying. So like anytime I'm having a really, really bad day or I feel like I've been hurt by somebody, or let's say that I'm having a really bad experience with a client and it's come to a point where like I'm mentally about to fucking explode, I will record a video about why I hate working with this client and basically tell myself like, after this project with them is done, this is where you cut them the fuck off and you are not going to work with this client again, and you're not going to work with a client that reminds you of this client ever again. And I will list all the things that this person makes me feel and all the ways that I feel like it's making me go backwards instead of making me go forward and progress and grow in life. And so that's like where a lot of my videos of me crying gets filmed. And so although they don't always make it to the internet, you will, I'm sure if you follow me, you've definitely seen a video or two or three of me crying. Healing isn't a timeline. It could take years. It could take months. Fuck, you could even think that you've healed and then come to realize that when you're confronted with a certain situation, maybe you're not as healed as you thought you were. I genuinely felt like I was healed from, you know, the situations that have happened to me in my past. And every so often something will happen or someone will say something that will trigger me. And when I'm triggered by that comment, I have to stop and think, why the fuck are you triggered by this comment if you've, you know, gotten over X, Y, and Z or whatever? And then it makes you realize that maybe you are over it, but maybe there are little parts of your life or little things that you're still not over. And those are things that you can always work at bettering, you know? And I just feel like if you find yourself wondering if you're healing, you probably are. Because I feel like people who are not healing don't ask themselves if they are healing. And here's like a thing that I just want to mention. When we were in Toronto, when it was, I think it was like the fourth day that I hadn't taken my magnesium, I woke up that morning and I was like, fuck, I'm feeling a little different. I'm feeling a little bit anxious. Does this mean I'm not healing? Does it mean that I'm, you know, reverting back to the way I was? Does it mean that these last couple weeks, like, was that just one of my new addictions? Did I replace my old bad addictions with, you know, definitely a less toxic addiction, but nonetheless, is it still an addiction, or am I going through some type of manic phase? Like, and I just found myself that entire day constantly like questioning myself, like, am I actually healing? Am I actually changing? And I shit you the fuck not. We drove by this building and this is what I saw. I'm going to put the picture because I just felt like I was racking my brain about it all day long. And this, I felt like, was a fucking sign from God. Like, I felt like I had been asking all day, like, God, send me a sign. Here is your sign. I put it on a fucking huge building for you to see, just so that in case it wasn't clear enough, now it is. And so then I saw that and I was like, okay, I got your sign. So I think if you're on this healing journey, kind of let yourself feel all the things that you need to feel, and realize that, you know, like I said, some days you may wake up and you feel like you went 20 steps forward, and then the day after you feel like you have taken 10 steps back, or maybe even fucking 30 steps back. But as long as you're still going forward and realizing that sometimes it's not about always needing closure on certain situations. I feel like I'm just starting to learn a lot about myself, and I accept a lot of things about myself that I didn't before, and I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and that's also important to have in friendships. Recognizing these type of things, like being friends with somebody doesn't only mean loving everything about them. It means knowing everything about them, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, and then still accepting them. I have accepted friends who I, didn't necessarily think were the best people. I think it depends on if they're working on themselves or if they're making excuses for themselves, or how much of their toxic lifestyle can potentially negatively influence you. Because like I said, healing is not a timeline and healing is not linear, and we're all kind of figuring it out in different ways because we are all rough drafts. And so just remember that healing isn't pretty. Healing is not growing, it's grieving. It's grieving who you thought they were. It's grieving who you thought you were. And it's even grieving toxic coping mechanisms that, you've used your entire life, and the bad habits that you thought were like part of your personality, but were not actually part of your personality. It's a blank slate. It's realizing that you could do whatever you want and you could be whoever you want. And I'm going to leave you with this. The other day when we were leaving Toronto, Stefano was up in the apartment and I was bringing some stuff down, and he was with the cat, and I was bringing a couple extra things down before he came down with me. And so I was in the elevator and I had a couple different bags. And when I got into the elevator, there was a guy already in the elevator, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, are you moving?" And I think instinctively, because I'm somebody who doesn't like to lie and I like to kind of like let people in on, what's going on or what I'm doing, instinctively, I wanted to just be like, blah, 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 and like yap his fucking ear off about what I was actually doing. Like, no, I'm from Montreal, but I was here for an event and and like kind of just give him like the whole spiel of what I was actually doing. And in that moment, I don't know what happened, but I realized that I could have been whoever the fuck I wanted to be. I could have been moving. I could have been moving into the building. I could have been moving out of the building. Hell, I could have just found my husband cheating on me and I could have just grabbed all my shit and fucking stuck it in the elevator. Like I could have just been anybody. And there was something so fucking freeing about that. About the fact that I didn't feel like I needed to explain myself, or that I didn't need to, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And so when he said, "Are you moving?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where are you moving to?" I said, "I'm moving to Montreal." And he said, "Wow, that's really cool." And I said, "I know. I'm excited." And as like somebody who doesn't lie, I just felt so alive in that moment. And I was like, I can and you can be whoever it is that you want to be. And you get the chance to do that every single day when you wake up. You just choose to wake up every single day and be the same person that you were yesterday, but you're quite literally not obligated. There is no law that tells you that you need to be like that. And so think about that tomorrow morning when you wake up. Who do you want to be? And what kind of merch do you want from me? Please let me know that also. Please leave a comment. Let me know. Would you wear more hats? Would you wear more t-shirts? Would you wear more sweaters? And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, because I'm going to be showing you the slogans that we're going to be using. And I really, really want your opinion on it, because this is going to be the stuff that we're going to be wearing. So on TikTok or Instagram, barely edited with a 3. Please go follow us. And if you have not rated my podcast yet, please leave a rating, but only if it's a 5-star, because if not, you're going to make me cry. I will see you next week as promised. Episodes drop every Sunday-ish. It kind of depends on how the week's going, but I mean, like, I dropped the last episode last Friday, okay, which was wild that I even got it out that early. I'm hoping that this episode's going to come out on Sunday, but I can't make any promises because fuck, life is so unpredictable. God only knows what could happen to me between now and Sunday. Oh God, knock on wood. Okay, thanks for watching. I love you. Bye.
Tell me, what is it about them? Living like it's their game. Karma said it better than me. You'll just end up losing.